Problem number 4 on penalty method. Solve for nodal displacement and elemental stresses for the following figure. Figure shows a thin plate of uniform thickness of 1 mm, Young's modulus 200 GPa, weight density 76.6 into 10 power minus 6 Newton per mm cube. In addition to its weight, it is subjected to a point load of 100 Newton at its midpoint and model the plate with 2 bar elements. See, this is the figure given. See, it is a uniformly tapering bar. One end of the bar is fixed. The total length of the bar is 240 mm. Here, instead of giving the cross section area in the problem, width is given. At larger end, the width is 60 mm and at the smaller end, the width is 30 mm. And thickness of the bar is given. The bar is having uniform thickness of 1 mm. So width is given and thickness is given so that we can calculate the cross sectional area. See, I told you when a uniformly tapering bar is given, you have to convert that tapered bar into stepped bar. Here in the problem itself, it is mentioned model the plate with 2 bar element. You have to use 2 1D bar element for FE model. See, it's very important problem. It has been asked in VTU question paper many times. See here, this bar is subjected to a load of 100 Newton at the center and also weight density of 76.6 into 10 power minus 6 Newton per mm cube is given. See, in module number 1 we have studied different types of forces, that is body force, traction and point load. See, this weight density means it is a body force. What is body force? Body force is the distributed force acting over the entire volume of the body. So in this problem, the bar is subjected to both point load and the body force. Now we will see the solution. So you have to convert this uniformly tapering bar into stepped bar. See here. This is first step. This is second step. One end is fixed. Length is 120 mm. Here also the length is 120 mm. Here it is subjected to point load of 100 Newton. I will take this as area 1, this as area. So we have converted uniformly tapering bar into stepped bar. Now I have to calculate the area 1, that is area of first step, and area 2, area of the second step. For that, first we will find out the width of this tapered bar at the center. This width will be, since it is a uniformly tapering bar, the width at the center will be average width of these two. Means if you take the average of 60 mm and 30 mm, you will get the average width at the center of this tapered bar. So width at the center of the uniformly tapering bar, so which is equal to 60 plus 30 by 2. It is 45 mm. This is the width at the center of the uniformly tapering bar. Now see, we got the width at the center of this uniformly tapering bar. Now the area of first cross section will be the average area of these two. If we take average area of this end and at the center, we will get the cross section area of first section. So cross section of first step. A1 will be, the width at the larger end is 60 mm. See, we need the cross section area. We have the width and thickness is given, it is 1 mm. So width into thickness gives the cross sectional area, plus the width at the center is 45 into the thickness 1 divided by 2, which is equal to 52.5 mm square. This is the cross sectional area of first step. Next, we need cross sectional area of this second step. See here, the cross sectional area of this second step will be average area of this section and this section. Means if you take the average area at the center of this uniformly tapering bar and the free end, we will get the cross section area A2. So cross section of second step A2 will be 45 into 1 plus 30 into 1 divided by 2, which is equal to 37.5 mm square. This is the cross section area of this second step. Next is FE model. Here you have to use two 1D bar element. This is element number 1. This is element number 2. Node numbering 1, 2, 3. Nodal forces. At node 1 it is F1. At node 2 F2. At node 3 it is F3. And displacements at node 1 Q1, at node 2 Q2, and at node 3 it is Q3. So this is the finite element model. Next is elemental stiffness matrix. Elemental stiffness matrix. We have the formula K1 is equal to AE by L 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. For first element, K1 is A1, it is 52.5 into Young's modulus, it is 200 gigapascal, 200 into 10 power 3 divided by the length, it is 120 mm. 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. So if we simplify this, we will get 10 power 5 outside and inside 0.875 minus 0.875 minus 0.875 0.875. Here you have to give the node numbering. We know that first element, it connects node number 1 to 2. So we will give the number 1, 2, 1, 2. Next, for second element, K2 is the cross sectional area 37.5 mm square into Young's modulus 200 into 10 power 3 by length 120. 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. If you simplify this, you will get 10 power 5 outside and inside 0.625 minus 0.625 minus 0.625 0.625. So this is element number 2, the stiffness matrix for element number 2. Element number 2 connects node number 2 and 3. So here the node numbering will be 2, 3, 2, 3. Next is global stiffness matrix. Global stiffness matrix K is equal to K1 plus K2. So there are 3 nodes. Therefore here the order of the global stiffness matrix will be 3 cross 3. K is 10 power 5. Node numbering 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See element corresponding to 1 and 1. See K1, the element corresponding to 1 and 1 is 0.875. But here we don't have any element corresponding to 1 and 1. Therefore here it is 0.875. Next element corresponding to 2 and 1. See here element corresponding to 2 and 1 is minus 0.875. In K2 we don't have any element corresponding to 2 and 1. Therefore here it will be minus 0.875. Next element corresponding to 3 and 1. See both elemental stiffness matrix of K1 and K2. We don't have any element corresponding to 3 and 1. So it will be 0. So due to symmetry we can write here minus 0.875 0. Next element corresponding to 2 and 2. See the elemental stiffness matrix of first element. Element corresponding to 2 and 2 is 0.875 and elemental stiffness matrix of second element. Here element corresponding to 2 and 2 is 0.625. So you have to add this 0.875 and 0.625. It will be 1.5. Next element corresponding to 3 and 2. See in K1 we don't have any element corresponding to 3 and 2. But in K2 the element corresponding to 3 and 2 is minus 0.625. Minus 0.625. So due to symmetry here you can write minus 0.625. Next element corresponding to 3 and 3. See in K1 we don't have any element corresponding to 3 and 3. But in K2 we have element corresponding to 3 and 3 is 0.625. So here 0.625. This is the global stiffness matrix. Next is global nodal displacement vector, that is Q is equal to Q1, Q2, Q3 transpose. Next we need force vector. See here in this problem there are 2 types of forces are acting. One is point load and one more is body force. So here global force vector will be force vector due to point load as well as due to body force. First we will find out the elemental body force vector due to weight density, that is due to body force. First we will find out elemental force vector due to body force, that is I will denote it by small f dash is equal to, the formula is area into length, that is volume, into the weight density. See here we know that body force is the distributed force acting on every elemental volume of the body. That's why here you have to multiply by the volume. Body force into volume divided by 2, 1, 1. This is the elemental force vector due to body force. Now first we will find out for element 1. Element 1 body force vector is, we will take F1 dash is equal to A1 L1 F1 by 2 1 1 is equal to area of first step, it is 52.5 into length of first portion 120 into the body force, that is weight density 76.6 into 10 power minus 6 divided by 2 1 1. If you simplify this, we will get F1 dash is equal to 0.2413 0.2413. See, first element connects node number 1 to 2, that's why here you have to give the number 1 2. Next, for element 2, body force vector F2 dash is equal to A2 L2 F2 by 2 1 1. Substitute the value. A2 is 37.5 into length 120 into body force 76.6 into 10 power minus 6 divided by 2 1 1. So F2 dash will be equal to 0.1724 0.1724. So this is body force vector for element 2. Since element 2 connects node number 2 and 3, here you have to give the number 2 and 3. Next is global force vector due to body force. See, we have calculated elemental force vector due to body force for element number 1 and element number 2. See, this global force vector due to body force is F dash is equal to F1 dash plus F2 dash. Means you have to add the body force vector for first element and body force vector for second element, so that you will get global body force vector or global force vector due to body force. F dash is equal to, see the node numbering 1 2 3. See here we need the element corresponding to 1. If you see the elemental body force vector for first element, the element corresponding to 1 is 0.2413. Here it is 0.2413. Next we need element corresponding to 2. See the elemental body force vector for first element. Here element corresponding to 2 is 0.2413, and body force vector for second element. Here the element corresponding to 2 is 0.1723. So for global body force vector you have to add these two. It will be 0.4137. Next element corresponding to 3. See the elemental body force vector of first and second element. Here we don't have any element corresponding to 3, but here we have element corresponding to 3, that is 0.1724. Therefore here we will get 0.1724. So this is the global force vector due to body force. Next you have to write global force vector due to point load. Global force vector due to point load, that is F is equal to, I will give the node numbering 1 2 3. See, if you see the figure, at node number 1 we don't have any point load, so F1 will be 0. At node number 2 we have a point load of 100 Newton, but at node number 3 we don't have any point load. So F1 is 0, F2 is 100 Newton and F3 is again 0. See, F1 0, F2 100 Newton, F3 0. So this is the force vector due to point load. Next we need global force vector due to both body force and point load. Global load vector or force vector due to both body force and point load, that is F is equal to, we have to add global force vector due to body force and global force vector due to point load. F is equal to, I will give the numbering 1, 2, 3. See here, element corresponding to 1. Here we have element corresponding to 1 as 0.2413, but here we have 0. Therefore here the element corresponding to 1 is 0.2413. Next we need element corresponding to 2. See the global force vector due to body force and point load. See, in global force vector due to body force, element corresponding to 2 is 0.4137. In global force vector due to point load, element corresponding to 2 is 100. Means here you have to add this 100 and 0.4137. So here it becomes 100.4137. Next we need the element corresponding to 3. See the global force vector due to body force. Here element corresponding to 3 is 0.1724, but here it is 0. Therefore element corresponding to 3 will be 0.1724. This is the global load vector by combining load vector due to body force and point load. Next is equilibrium condition. Equilibrium condition, K into Q is equal to F, that is 10 power 5 outside, inside it is 0.875 minus 0.875 0 minus 0.875 0 1.5 minus 0.625 minus 0.625 0.625. This is K. Q will be equal to Q1, Q2, Q3 is equal to F1 0.2413, F2 100.4137, F3 is 0.1724. This is the equilibrium condition. Next is applying the boundary condition using penalty method. See the figure here. See, one end of the stepped bar is fixed. So in penalty method, this fixed support is modeled by using a spring having large stiffness C. That C will be given by maximum of Kij into 10 to the power of 4. See, for this spring stiffness, you have to see the global stiffness matrix. See here, the element having maximum value is 1.5. Therefore, C will be equal to 1.5 into, we have 10 power 5 outside, so 10 power 5 into 10 power 4. So this is the spring stiffness. See, since node 1 is fixed See, node number 1 is fixed. Therefore, Q1 will be equal to A1 will be equal to 0. Now, the using penalty method, since Q1 is equal to A1 is equal to 0, the large spring stiffness C gets added to the corresponding element in the global stiffness matrix. That is, this C is added to K11. It gets added here. So plus C. Next, the corresponding spring force, that is CA1, gets added to the corresponding nodal force, that is here, plus CA1. Since A1 is equal to 0, this CA1 becomes 0. So equilibrium condition becomes 10 power 5 0.875 plus C, that is 1.5 into 10 to the power of 4 minus 0.875 0 minus 0.875 1.5 minus 0.625 here 0 minus 0.625 0.625 into Q1 Q2 Q3 is equal to 0.2413 100.4137 0.1724. If you simplify the equilibrium equation after applying the boundary condition, we will get three equations, that is 15000.875 Q1 minus 0.875 Q2 is equal to 0.2413 into 10 power minus 5. Second equation, minus 0.875 Q1 plus 1.5 Q2 minus 0.625 Q3 is equal to 100.4137 into 10 power minus 5. Third equation is minus 0.625 Q2 plus 0.625 Q3 is equal to 0.1724 into 10 power minus 5. Now if you solve these three equations, you can find out Q1, Q2, Q3. Solving above equation, we get Q1 is equal to 6.7218 into 10 power minus 8 mm. This is displacement at node number 1. Next, Q2 is 1.1496 into 10 power minus 3 mm. This is displacement at second node. And Q3 is 1.1524 into 10 power minus 3 mm. These are the nodal displacement Q1, Q2 and Q3. Next, we need stress in each element. Stress in each element. So sigma 1, stress in first element is E1 by L1 minus 1 1 Q1 Q2 is equal to 200 into 10 power 3 Young's modulus divided by length 120 minus 1 1 Q1 it is 6.7218 into 10 power minus 8. Q2 1.1496 into 10 power minus 3. If you simplify this, you will get sigma 1 is equal to 1.916 megapascal or Newton per mm square. This is stress in element number 1. Next, we need stress in second element, that is sigma 2 is equal to E2 by L2 minus 1 Q2 Q3 is equal to, we will substitute the given value, 200 into 10 power 3 divided by length 120 minus 1 Q2 it is 1.1496 into 10 power minus 3. Q3 is 1.1524 into 10 power minus 3. If you simplify this, we will get sigma 2 is equal to 4.667 into 10 power minus 3 megapascal or Newton per mm square. This is stress in element number 2. See, suppose in this problem, if this 100 Newton is acting upward, then we have to take that load as minus, because the weight density or the body force, it always acts towards the gravity, means it acts always downward. Here in this problem, this 100 Newton is also acting downward. That's why in the force vector we have added this 100 to that body force vector. Suppose if this 100 Newton is acting upward, then you have to take this as minus sign, minus 100. Thank you.